Hey everybody, Lee with LG Speed and Custom, and welcome to my 32 Ford build, part 10.
Came across a train wreck on a cold December night.
Wow, it feels like forever since I've worked on this car. And it almost has been. It's been like, I think, at least 2 weeks since the last time I worked on it. I've been working on Shannon's Comet. Everybody that's watched my videos before, they know all about that. Putting a 302 in Shannon's 61 Comet right now, and I kind of got, really in the zone on that. So I've been working on that a lot and neglecting my 32 Ford. But today that's gonna change. We're gonna continue working on it. The last video, we dropped the front axle and reversed the spring. So we're probably gonna continue on with that. We're gonna have to narrow the tie rod a little bit and put the spring back together. Maybe we'll put the front end back under it, put the brakes back on, and put it back on the ground and see what it looks like. We also, in one of the previous videos, we were having issues with fan clearance. So I've got the correct fan that should work, and the Offenhauser pulley that will fit on the PowerMaster Power Gen and allow this to bolt up to the pulley. So we'll probably tackle that as well. And who knows what else we'll get to. You'll notice I get the grille kind of mocked up on here. I mean, experimenting just with some paint colors. I think this is the color that I have in mind for the car. Something similar to this, a nice like pastel blue. Really going for like a late 50s, early 60s look with this car. Like something if you were to open Hot Rod Magazine or Rod and Custom between like 1958 and 62, like the kind of car that you would see then. So that's why I went with this particular color. I don't know if it will evolve to anything. It might just be black primer, who knows? But I mean, there's nothing wrong with experimenting with a couple paint colors. So yeah, let's get to it. We'll drag this front end out and narrow the tie rod. If you're wondering why we have to change the tie rod, why we got to narrow it, when we heated and bent this axle, obviously when you take something that, like the spindle used to be down here, and we've heated it up and brought it up, so as it comes up on both ends, it gets a little bit narrower. As well as when we heat and bent these steering arms to get our proper tie rod height and everything set up, I mean, it's going to change everything. So right now it is very toed in. The solution, it's pretty simple. This is just a threaded tube. Threaded, one side's right-hand thread, one side's left-hand thread. So we're just going to basically set this where it needs to be, like eyeball it, measure how much longer this is, and then cut that much off the tube, rethread it, and thread the tie rod back in. Pretty simple stuff. One thing I want to mention, for those that didn't watch the last video on Shannon's Comet, Roadster shirts are back in stock on the website. So if you need one, if you've been waiting for one, go get one. They're on the website as well as all the other shirts that we've always have. And everybody that did watch the last video and go and check out the website and get a shirt, thank you very much. That was, I think, the record-breaking amount of shirt sales from one video was the last one. It was incredible. So thank you guys so much. Every time you guys buy something off the website, all that money goes right back into this channel to continue to make great content for you guys to watch. So I really, really appreciate it. We'll undo this tie rod and get some measurements. I've unthreaded one side of the tie rod here, or got it undone, and I've eyeballed these pretty close, I think. Let's confirm with the tape measure. That is 50 and just over 3/4 of an inch. We go on this side. That is 50 and just over 3/4 of an inch, 13/16 to be exact. So if we set our tie rod back on here, basically we need to shorten this, I don't know, 2 inches? from the center of here to the center of here is, yeah, 2 inches. And this doesn't have to be super precise because you can adjust this to fine tune it once it's in the car. You can thread it in and thread it out. So I guess we can take the tie rod off now, undo this end, get this thing out of here. The previous owner of this car had this on here, and I don't think I need this. I don't think I want it. It's basically just like a steering dampener. It's to prevent like the death wobble. But usually if you have a death wobble, there's like an underlying cause that's creating the death wobble. So we'll take this and not have it on here anymore and unthread we just have to unthread one end. We'll probably do the right hand thread one just because it's easier. Cut 2 inches off, rethread it, put the tie rod end back in, and we might as well set our toe while we're here because it's not going to change once it's on the car, and this is considerably easier to measure than laying on your back under the car. So let's do it.
Выпить хочешь? Наливай.
Note this slot right here. So that is when you put the clamp on here, you can tighten it down and it clamps the tie rod in so it doesn't move. We're gonna have to continue this slot. So I measured from the end in and got our 2 inch point. That's where we're gonna cut the end of this tube off. But we're also going to have to make this slot. So I measured the length of it and then added it to here. Put a piece of tape here for a straight line. So we'll probably cut that first. We'll just continue this slice all the way up to this edge, and then we'll chop that off and then rethread it. This is an 11/16 by 18 thread, if you're curious. And yeah, chop time.
Я лихач. Promises of love that were said so long ago, now lie cold and frozen beneath the blowing snow. It wasn't that she walked away, she weren't cheap and kind. The chill was slowly blowing in and love was left behind.
This is all tapped and happy now, all threaded in, so we will put this little clamp back on. Maybe. It's being difficult. Let's grab, there's the hammer. Let's tap this guy back on. There we go. It's about the same angle as the other side. All right, now our tie rod end. Here we go. So we'll thread this back in. Let's put a little anti-seize on it. Like so. We'll thread this in and then we can set our toe. So that's about where it was based on the old marks. Let's see where we're at. Tape measure. That looks pretty square to my eyeballs. We've got 50 3/4, 50 13/16. That was pretty good for the first try. I think we'll leave it here because you want an 1/8 inch toe in, but you want that, where the tires are, way out here. So if we set an 1/8 inch further in here, by the time it gets way out here, it could be a 1/4 inch or so. So I think we'll tighten this guy up using this here. Okay, beautiful. This thing here, Badge, he told me not to do it, but I'm gonna do it. Badge, who has been a family friend since I was a little kid and really mentored me into getting into cars and hot rods. I've talked about him before. Anyways, about a month ago, he sent me this Milwaukee little 3/8 250 foot-pound gun as a gift. And he's like, don't say anything. I want to see if anybody on the channel notices. Because a while back, a long time ago, I was using one of those like little 1/4-inch nut driver guys, and I kept breaking the ends off. So I was like, what's everyone using? This is what you use. So Badge sent this to me, and he said not to say anything. But you know what? I'm saying it, Badge. Thank you. This thing rules. I use it multiple times a day. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's find the nut, which is over here. I'll thread this guy on, and I don't think I'm gonna tighten these up yet because I might have to take it off again at some point. I don't know why, but probably for paint. I think we're ready to maybe put the spring back together and put this under the car.
I'd rather choose Siberia than live another day in that frozen prison of love that's gone away. Drinking until daylight.
Front spring is back in. It worked out pretty good. I did not put the second leaf back in. And the two reasons I did that. One, when it was sitting where it needs to be, our end was a little bit too long and needed to be trimmed down. But I thought, you know, rather than trimming it down, if we just get rid of it, like the next one, the third leaf, if we put it where the second leaf is supposed to be, it works just fine. And it's this much lower now. In the past, sometimes I have taken every second leaf spring out, and that really gets it low. And on modern roads, you don't really need a leaf pack this big anymore. However, when I did my 47, when Shannon and I put the front end back under it, we did that. We took every second leaf out and put it back under the car, set it down on the ground, and the wishbones hit the frame. It was way too low. So I'm like, well, let's just start putting springs back in it until it gets to a nice height. And when we got it to where the height that it's at now, which is ridiculously low, it was all the springs. We put them all back in. So on this, we just put it all back together like it is, and we'll try it. I mean, we can always come back and take some of these springs out. I also kind of just gave everything a little once over with the DA sander just to knock some of the grime out of it. I probably should sandblast this front end, but to be honest, I'm building a 32 Ford on a Model T budget, and I can't really, you know, I don't want to, 32 Ford parts are really expensive. And I've had to buy a fair amount of parts already for this car. So I don't want to go and spend a bunch of money sandblasting stuff because I don't have a lot of extra money to spend on sandblasting. And at the end of the day, like, I drive all my cars all the time, year round. It's gonna get dirty, it's gonna get crusty. Do I really need to sandblast and give it like a high-end paint job, or can I get away with just buzzing it down like this and maybe I'll paint it with some Pour 15? That works good. Or Pour 13, like Bruce always uses. Rust-Oleum. But we'll cross that bridge later. We're not worried about that right now. Right now we're worried about putting front brakes on this. So these are 46 to 48 Ford backing plates. The main difference, or the way you can tell 46 to 48 backing plates from 39 to 41 backing plates, or 39 and 40, I guess, these might be 42 to 48. I always skip the 42 era just because of the war and stuff. So these don't have adjusters down at the bottom, and the 3940 style do. That's the easiest way to tell them apart. Which one's better? I don't know. The 3940 ones, I mean, they're older, so that makes them a little bit cooler, but these are easier to adjust because there's less adjusting. Doesn't really matter, in my opinion. So 39, for those that aren't aware, 39 was the first year for a hydraulic brake. 38 and older was all mechanical. So to fit these on our 32 to 34 spindles, they don't quite fit right. So there's a couple ways you can do it. I think this has the adapter kit, which is also what I did on my Roadster, because it's got 32 spindles with 39 brakes. And that adapter kit consists of this little spacer right here, as well as you can see this little ring right here. In fact, if we go to the other spindle, the ring is still on the spindle here. And that just takes up this like little area right here is smaller on the 32 to 34s. So that just bumps it up to the correct size for the hole in that backing plate. The other thing you have to do to fit them on is oblong these holes. You can see how they've been slotted in. And that is because this bolt pattern is slightly narrower. And that's it. That's all you need to do to put hydraulic brakes on the early style spindles. If you have 37 and up spindles, these will just bolt right on, no problem. But like we talked about earlier, I really like the 32 to 34 spindles because they've got the bearing up top here. So the whole spindle sits a little bit lower than a 37 to 41. And they've got this cast in steering arm, which I really like. Otherwise, I don't know, a spindle's a spindle, it holds a wheel on. Let's fit these brakes. We'll put the drums back on. We're gonna do everything up on the vise here because it's a nice, comfortable height to work at. You know, when I was younger, this older guy used to hang around the shop all the time. And when I say older, the guy was in my early, mid-20s then, and he was like 50. So at the time, that was like, he was an old guy. And he used to always be like, man, I don't know how you can always work on the floor. I would do everything on the floor. I'd build entire frames on the floor. I'd assemble front ends on the floor. Didn't bother me at all. And he's like, I don't know how you can do that. I have to do everything on a bench. And now that I'm older, like I'm not 50, not even 40 yet, but I'm older than, you know, mid-20s or early 30s. And yeah, I know what he's saying now. Like, I hate doing stuff down on the ground, kneeling on stuff, walking around on my knees. So we'll assemble all this up top. And I mean, obviously it's gonna be too heavy for me to lift off, but Shannon's here today, so she can help me lift it down when we get to that point.
I'd rather choose Siberia than live another day in that frozen prison of love that's gone away. Drinking until daylight in the land of the midnight sun with others that were like me, once were two but now are one.
Front end is all back together, sort of. These dust caps don't want to fit. I think the 32 spindle sticks out further than like a 46 to 48 spindle. So three options. One, we can just tape them on like I've done. Two, we can try to find a deeper dust cap. Or three, we can probably shave the end of the spindle off. This side is even worse. Look at this thing. And that is because this dust cap is missing. It was missing when I bought the car and I forgot all about it, so I have not ordered another one. But spray paint lid and a little bit of tape works fine. Shannon should be here in a moment, and then we can lift this front end out of here and whoosh, underneath the car it can go. Yeah. The ball, basically, you know what? We can make this even easier. Watch your toes. Ah! Watch the plenishing hammer. So yeah, that ball at the end of the wishbone goes under the transmission. It'd probably be easier if you just grab that end, and then I'll just lift this end. Okay, and when I loosen the vise, that's gonna fall. Okay, I'm gonna grab this end. Oh gosh, this is heavy. No, we're good. Okay. It will, yeah. I think before you run away again, I'm gonna put the floor jack underneath. I'll pick it up and just slide that underneath. Cool. Thanks. How's that? Perfect. Woo!
I'd rather choose Siberia than live another day in that frozen prison of love that's gone away. Drinking until daylight in the land of the midnight sun.
Before we put this front end in, we just got a mail delivery from Dale McShane in Carrera, Queensland, Australia. Let's open it up and see what it is. I have no idea what this is. Hopefully it's not something weird. It says key ring assembly on the description. Whatever that means. Something, I'm assuming something to do with keys? Maybe ignition switch? I don't know. Let's find out. There's some stuffing in here. Some magnets. Classic plastic. Custom lenses. Cool. What else is in here? Some paperwork, a little note, I think. Maybe we should read the note first. Handwritten note. Look at that. Nobody ever handwrites stuff anymore. Hi guys, I've been watching your channel for a few months now. Love the content. I thought you might like these key rings. I make urethane parts for... Not quite sure what the... Oh, rods. I make urethane parts for rods, etc. Lights, lenses. These are just off the... Not quite sure what that says. He's writing in Australian, and I don't speak Australian. I'm in Australia, halfway around the world, or half a world away. Keep up the good work. Regards, Dale. Cool. Thanks, Dale. Let's see what we got here. Ah, cool. Super cool. They're like little tiki heads. There's a bunch in here. What do we got? Yeah. Those are really cool. Got a green one. Purple. Another red one. A couple gray ones. A silver one. Wow. These are really cool, Dale. Thanks so much. Really appreciate that. If you want some of these, get in touch with Dale at Classic Plastic. All right, let's get to this front end now. All right, pretty simple stuff here. We're just going to pull this. It sits right up in there, and that little, it's like a little ball and socket deal. And just a couple bolts. Uh-oh. This is like one of those jobs where you need 3 hands. One to hold the bolt, one to hold the wishbone. There we go. Probably leave this loose until we get the other end up in there. Let's give it just a little bit so the nuts don't fall off. Okay, moving to the front.
Выпить хочешь? Наливай.
All right, let's put some wheels on it, and we'll put the whole thing back down on the ground and see what it looks like. I'm thinking, like, my first impression, we still have a ton of room in here, and we've got lots of room on the wishbones. We could probably take some more springs out and go a little bit lower. But before we do that, let's see what it looks like.
Promises of love that were said so long ago, now lie cold and frozen beneath the blowing snow. It wasn't that she walked away, she weren't cheating kind. The chill was slowly blowing in and love was...
All right, let's see what happens. You know, now that it's on the ground, it actually is pretty low. We might be okay. Although, I mean, the chassis is still sitting pretty level, and there's still the weight of the body is going to be going on. Maybe we should go a little bit lower. Maybe. I don't know. It's tough to say. But it's definitely way lower than it used to be.
I'd rather choose Siberia than live another day in that frozen prison of love that's gone away. Drinking until daylight in the land of the midnight sun. With others.
So I've just realized something, and I feel pretty stupid. The whole time, this car, something in the front end has looked weird. And I didn't get too focused on it because, I mean, everything, if you saw the first videos on this car when we bought it and when we took it apart, everything on the front end was weird. The rad was pushed way out in front. It had 2 different frames spliced together. The stance was terrible. The back wheels were too far forward. So everything looked weird. There was a lot of weird going on. And as we've been unweirding stuff, I've noticed the front spring looked kind of weird. And the first time I mocked the front end up on this, I tightened the wishbone ball right up and then went to jack the front end up, and the spring didn't want to go in very well. I had to get a pry bar and push it. Even just now when I put it in, I left the wishbones loose and I had to use a pry bar to get the spring to go in the cross member. And I mean, it didn't take a lot of pressure, so it didn't clue in that like something's a little weird on here. But let me grab the camera and bring you in here, and I'll kind of show you what's going on. So when we stand over top and look down, you see where our cross member is? Our spring comes out, but our axle is too far back. And on this side over here, the spring isn't lined up anymore with the main leaf. I was like, that's really weird. So I've been sitting here looking at it, and I was like, are these the wrong wishbones? They can't be the wrong wishbones. I mean, everything fits so nice in there, like it came apart. So I grabbed a tape measure and I measured, and 32 wishbones are 47.5 inches from the ball to the perch. 33, 34 wishbones are 45.5 inches. They're shorter, 2 inches shorter. Now you think 2 inches shorter wouldn't line up at all, like it would not work. There's no way it would work, forcing the axle back 2 inches. Well, turns out it does. These are 33, 34 wishbones. So that leaves us with two options. One, we can cut the wishbone here, move it out to the side, put a tie rod end on it, put a perch there, and have split wishbones. But I don't want to have split wishbones. I want to keep them together, especially with using this 32 K-member. So our other option is we can cut this and add 2 inches in there, and that should get the right length. That's actually what I did on my Roadster here, because these, when I built this car, I was looking for 32 Ford wishbones. Didn't find any, but I found some 33, 34 wishbones that were chromed. And if you look back here, where all this Bonneville corrosion is, that's because there's no chrome here, because I added 2 inches in here to make this the right length. So that's probably what we'll do with this. You know, that would have been way easier to solve before the front end was in there. Like I said, I kind of feel like an idiot, but whatever. Sometimes people are idiots. I also think when we take this apart, I'm going to take a couple leaves out of here because I want this car to be low. And right now, I mean, it's low, but it could be lower. And lower is always better. All right, pull the front end out again. So I think if I go about 2 inches ahead of this weld, which would be about there, I'm going to cut it. And the reason I want to cut it there is because then I have room to put an insert inside of there. I've got, these are chunks of Model A wishbones. So I can probably cut 2 inches out of there. They're the same diameter as this wishbone. And then I've got this, I got two of these actually. I don't know what this is from, some sort of bushing. But they fit nice inside of there. So I can slide that in, plug weld it, weld the wishbone, and then plug weld on this side. And that way it should be nice and strong. I'm not super worried about it. There's not a ton of stress back here. But I would be a bit more comfortable if it was sleeved. So that's how I did my Roadster. If I had a lathe, I really got to get a lathe. I don't know where I would put a lathe. I am so full right now. But if I had a lathe, I could take some, 1.5 inches. This is 1.5 inches diameter. Some 1.5 inch round bar, about that long or so, and then spin the ends down in the lathe so they would slide in there. And that would be really strong, but I think this'll That'll be fine. There's our plan. Zing!
Now with mortgages and homes, I got sickness in the bones. Ain't no beauty queen in this locality. No, but I still got my greatest.
We want to extend this 2 inches, so I cut these little chunks of Model A wishbone at just under, I think they're 1 3/4 inches. And that way we have a little bit of gap that we can weld. We don't want them right butted against each other because then you can't get the filler rod down in there. I think we'll probably weld this end together on the bench where it's nice and easy. Put our little guy in there to hold it all nice and secure. We'll put some rosebud, drill some holes in here so we can put some rosebud welds in there, rosette welds. And then do the same on this end. Go swoop. This actually might be a pretty easy fix.
You gonna take me home tonight? Down beside that red firelight. Oh, you gonna let it all hang out? Fat bottom girls, you make this rockabilly world go round.
All right, so essentially, this tube's gonna slide in like that. This will slide in like that, get welded there. And then this will slide into the rest of the wishbone that's on the front suspension. And it has a rosette hole as well, so we can weld direct to the tube in 3 spots, as well as we're gonna weld this gap up and this gap up on both sides. And that should get us, we need from this ball to the hole where the perch pin goes through, it needs to be 47.5 inches.
Smooth after a while. Take me to those lovely ladies every day. Sing it. You gonna take me home tonight? Down beside that red firelight. Oh, you gonna let it all hang out? That bottom girls, you make this rockabilly world go round. Hey, hey.
Well, that worked out really good, I think. Ooh, squeak, squeak. Squealing tires. I think I'm gonna stop for lunch now because I am famished. And after lunch, I'm going to take a couple more leaves out of this spring. Then we'll slide that guy back under. And hopefully it fits this time.
You gonna take me home tonight? Down beside that red firelight. You gonna let it all hang out? Fat bottom girls, you make this rockabilly world go round. Fat bottom girls, you make this rockabilly world go round.
I got a C-clamp on here. And now we can take the bolt off the bottom here, or the nut. With the C-clamp, it kind of holds it so that you can take this apart without it exploding in your face. I think I'm going to take maybe the top 3 out. In the past when I've done this, I've always taken like every second leaf spring out, but I really like the way these all are like equally tapered. So we'll take the top 3 out and try that. You know, there's going to be a lot more weight still goes on this car. And we can also, I'm going to get another C-clamp. That one's Although I don't know if there's much tension on it. Oh no, we're fine. Kablam! Yeah, if this still isn't low enough, we can always come back later. So my friend John Asen was going to come by today because he was saying that I need to round all these corners to make them look nice. And I was like, John, I don't have time for that. And he's like, oh, no, John's retired. So he's like, I got nothing to do all day. I'll come down and do it for you. But he never showed up. All right, we'll tighten this back up and put it back under the car. Okay. Are wishbones gonna reach, or did they hit the jack stands? When I took this apart, I had a problem with the wishbones up against the jack stands here. But I think we're okay this time. If I can get the stupid ball in the little wishbone cup. There we go. All right, let's see how this fits now. Okay, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but we need the pry bar to get it to go back a little bit. I'm gonna say that's a good thing. Where is the pry bar? It's over here. Because I mean, the spring wants to, like this whole front end should be at like, a 5 to 7 degree angle back. And it's just a little bit that it's got to go. Okay, it's in there now. Sort of. Oh yeah, it's going. All right, how's our hole lining up? Pretty close, right there. We still okay? Yeah, that's perfect. All right. Let's pull the jack stands out and see how it looks now. So far, the spring looks much happier. And doesn't sit any lower. I think so. I think that's pretty good there. Bounce a bounce. Yeah, what do you guys think? We got lots of spring clearance still. Like through here. We've got tons of suspension travel still. And we're kind of on a downhill rake now. I really want to put the body back on, just temporarily, just to kind of see what everything looks like. And I still haven't welded that rear suspension up yet. It's still just tacked right in here because I want to triple check that this is in the right spot. All right. I think we got it.
Hey! Well, I was just a skinny lad, never knew no good from bad. I knew life before I left my dungarees. Left alone with Big Fat Penny, she was such a naughty nanny.
Well, with the front suspension all buttoned up and put back under the car, let's turn our attention to this situation. So this is a power gen, which is basically like a 100 amp alternator inside a generator case. They're made by PowerMaster. And we have an 8BA in this car, which, as I explained in a couple videos back, 8BA is the longest flathead made. And the stock fan does not fit. So with the help of Bruce Donnellan and Terry Steinberg, I've got a 35 to 38 Ford fan and this Offenhauser pulley, which is to replace this pulley. And this pulley allows the fan to bolt on the front. And according to Bruce and a bunch of other people on the old internet, that is the trick to making an 8BA fit in a 32 Ford. So let's pull this stock pulley off and put this pulley on and try it out, see what happens. You know what's gonna foil this plan is this little, this little adapter is 1/4" fine thread bolts, and I don't have any short fine thread bolts, and we won't be able to get any today because it is Saturday afternoon. But I can get enough bolts in there using a 3/8 nut as a spacer that we can at least get it mocked up and see if it's going to work. And if it does work, then we'll take it apart, we'll sandblast this, get the right hardware, and put it back together. Let's see what happens. I've undone the radiator support rod and leaned the radiator, that support rod that just fell. All right, you just hang out down there. So we can slide this in and not have to worry about hitting the fins. Okay, get down there. 7/8 flat wrench, we'll snug it up a little bit. I think that's in the right spot. Can we go down more? I think we can. Ow, all the way down to my finger. Okay, that's pretty low there. I think that's as low as it's gonna go. And my finger's stuck in there. Ugh, okay. Snug this up. See how it fits. Check it out. We've got fanage. I did some rough measurements from the firewall to the grill shell, and I think it actually, the whole thing needs to go ahead a little bit. It's supposed to be 32, the hood's 32 inches, so this should be a little bit more than 32 inches. And I don't know where I put my tape measure. There we go. So the hood should sit about there and go to there, and we're at 31 3/8, so it can scooch ahead a little bit more. It does look like it's tilting forward though. And if we measure from back here to here, yeah, we're still at 31 3/4, so maybe it can go ahead. For that, we're just gonna have to put the hood on, I guess. I have all the hardware for the hood, but I don't know where it is right now, so I don't think we're gonna tackle that right this moment. Also, I don't know if the firewall, I'm pretty sure it's sitting in the right spot, because the firewall and the chassis have been together for so long that they've actually made grooves where they sit. So it's sitting in its grooves, kind of like your favorite couch. So I'm pretty confident it's where it is. Either way, we can make this work. It's gonna work. It'll work fine, I think. And if not, then I don't know, we'll go to plan C or D or G. All right, I think that's where I'm gonna call this video because I'm starting to get tuckered out. And yeah, got a lot accomplished. I'm quite happy with what we've got going on today. I'm really glad we got that wishbone situation sorted out. Thanks to Hot Rod Hullabaloo for the music on this video. They are from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. So if you like them, stop by hotrodhullabaloo.com and get yourself some merch from them. Also, while you're shopping, make sure to check out lgspeedcustom.com, and we got stickers, hot rod shirts, roadster shirts are back in stock. Like I said, everything is in stock right now, which is pretty cool, just in time for the holiday season. We have women's shirts too, if you're looking for something for your wife or girlfriend. And yeah, I don't know what the next video is gonna be. Maybe this, maybe Shannon's car. Shannon's car is so close. That's why I kind of want to just keep going on it just to get it done. And then once that's back on the road, we can just focus on this. Yeah, Gordy's 32 in the background is ready to fire. He's coming over on Monday and we're gonna fire that thing up. And we're doing a video on that, so make sure to watch out for that one. And yeah, we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching, really appreciate it. Also, thanks to Dale, McShane, and Badge for the gifts. That's so cool, I love it. See you later. How are we gonna do this without scratching everything? This hood fits terrible. Nothing fits. It's terrible.